Have you ever been so stressed about time that you wished you could just hit pause or rewind and do things differently? Well, believe it or not, back in 1582, that actually happened quite literally. Time itself changed, and not just for a few lucky. This was a global event. The calendar that most of the world used to tell time was wrong. They noticed and just decided to erase 10 days from time. But that wasn't the strangest part of it all. Millions of people flat out refused to accept the new date. So what exactly did happen way back then? Let's find out. Have you ever wondered why there are only 12 months in a year? Why is February such a short month? Or why every other month has 30 or 31 days, except for April, June, September, and November? What if I told you all these oddities and quirks in our calendar are nothing but a series of unfortunate events caused by one single man's mistake? Buckle up, because the history of our modern-day calendar is far from what you think. Let me introduce you to Julius Caesar, famous Roman general and dictator, also responsible for starting the whole month fiasco. Back in 46 BC, he implemented the Julian calendar, which was pretty advanced for its time. It made January the first month of the year and set 12 months as a standard. He also designated February as the last month, making it just 28 days long instead of the usual 30 days, as per the Roman calendar. Caesar wanted to honor his deceased son, who died during the winter, and hence dedicated February to him. These changes solved several problems that Rome was facing, such as uncertainty regarding the start of the new year and the festivals that fell on different days in different parts of the empire. However, according to legend, he was so obsessed with having the calendar named after him that he actually removed Sextilis, the month that fell between June and August, and renamed it to Caesar Augustus in his honor. Later, however, people started calling it just August. So now we know about the origin of our months. But how did the Julian calendar go wrong? As cool as it was, it had one fatal flaw. You see, Julius Caesar wasn't really into science and astronomy. He never took the time to accurately map the calendar against the solar year. Instead, he opted for a rough estimate, which may have been okay for the Romans back then, but caused some serious issues in the following centuries. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, the Julian calendar gained roughly 11 minutes every year compared to the tropical year, which is the time taken by the sun to travel from one equinox to the next. Now, that may not seem like much, but those 11 minutes added up very quickly, throwing off the entire calendar system. It was until the year 1500 that people realized that the error had caused a gap of 10 days between the Julian calendar and the actual solar year. They noticed that important religious dates like Easter no longer matched up with the vernal equinox, which is an astronomical event marking the beginning of spring and is an essential factor for calculating holidays. Plus, having two different calendars created a lot of confusion since not everyone was aware of both of them. Merchants and diplomats often found themselves dealing with different dates, which led to misunderstandings and potential legal issues. To fix all of this, Pope Gregory III decided to get involved. On February 24, 1582, he issued a papal bull titled Inter Gravissimus, which introduced the Gregorian calendar. The new calendar addressed the issue with leap years too. Under the Julian calendar, a leap year occurred every 4 years. But under the Gregorian calendar, years divisible by 100 were not leap years unless they were also divisible by 400. Now comes the big question. How did they manage to skip 10 days? In order to synchronize the new Gregorian calendar with the Julian calendar, they simply erased 11 days from October, starting with October 4th. The next day, October 15th, became the first day of the new calendar. Everyone woke up on October to a brand new date, October 15th, and all the days in between were gone forever. Sounds crazy, right? Well, it gets crazier. You see, this massive change wasn't exactly met with open arms. At first, many countries rejected the switch due to political tensions with the Vatican. France was the first country to adopt the new calendar in 1582, followed by Spain, Portugal, and some German states. Meanwhile, Protestant nations like England, Scotland, Sweden, and the Dutch Republic stuck to the Julian calendar, believing that it was just another Catholic trick to fool people. However, the real problem started when news of the calendar change reached Russia. The Russian Empire initially ignored the switch to the Gregorian calendar, but eventually accepted it in 1492. But then they had a change of heart and switched back to the Julian calendar 2 decades later, which caused some serious complications. Since Russia and the Ottoman Empire were at war at the time, the Ottomans continued to celebrate Christmas on January as they had adopted the Gregorian calendar. But Russia switched back to the Julian calendar, which celebrated Christmas on January. So they ended up celebrating the holiday on different days for many years, although they finally settled on the Gregorian calendar in 1918. But what about the rest of the world? After the French Revolution, most of Europe began to favor the Gregorian calendar, but there was still one holdout, Great Britain. They weren't keen on changing their calendar until 1752, despite the fact that it left them isolated from the rest of Europe, who were already using the Gregorian calendar. When British lawmakers finally voted in favor of the switch, people weren't happy. Shopkeepers put up signs saying "old for new," while others demanded compensation for the missing 11 days. There were even people who continued to refer to September 2nd as October 2nd to show their disapproval. But soon enough, the majority of the population got used to the new calendar. But what happened to those 11 days? Did they just vanish into thin air? Interestingly, those days haven't disappeared completely. They still exist, but only in a few places around the globe. Bhutan, for example, celebrates Losar, its new year, in the first month of the Tibetan calendar, which includes the missing 11 days. Similarly, Ethiopia follows the Ethiopian calendar, which also includes the missing days. Additionally, the leap seconds that occur occasionally in our timekeeping also include these days. A leap second is an optional 61st second added to coordinated universal time at the end of some days. Meanwhile, for most of us who live in countries that have switched to the Gregorian calendar, those 11 days continue to be one of the weirdest time glitches in human history. Why would you use AI when you can just write the quotes yourself? Well, here's the thing. I'm a huge fan of efficiency. And with ChatGPT, I can generate hundreds of quotes in just a matter of minutes. It's basically like having a personal assistant that never gets tired or makes mistakes. And the best part? It's free. Yeah, it's completely free. Thanks for watching.